just enjoy the Hunter family. They've been good to me. I've done well. I've made a real good living. Put my kids through college. I've just enjoyed it. And I never had a reason to go look anywhere else.
And I started to work for my dad. That was in 1960.
January 2nd, 1964.
I worked for them for 44 and a half years. Here for a little over 34 years.
I was 13 or 14 years old.
Probably about 38 years now.
38 years.
37 years.
50 years.
39 years old.
I've been here for 30.
I've been hunters for 51 years.
You get people like a Sherb Jamison or a Dick Mung. They've been here 40 plus years. Why do they want to keep working?
I just never had any reason to leave, you know.
I always told them money ain't what kept me here. They did. Just the way they treated you.
I stayed here because I like my job and I like the people I work for.
That's what Homer would have wanted. That's what Homer did.
From what I've heard, because it goes way back. I mean, Granddad started it in 1938 as a little service repair shop, a tire dealer.
Well, how my dad got in the truck business, he worked for my granddad. Granddad's other boys went to the service during the war, and my dad didn't go to the service, so my granddad said, why don't you go and rent that gas station and you can service my cars.
So that's really how we got started, because Dad started building up a business of his own while he was doing the cars, and eventually when the 80s got their building built, they pulled the car business out. He went into the tire business first, sold tires.
Quaker State came in and gave him a gas franchise. He ended up taking care of Uncle Merle's cars, and then Dodge got into the bigger trucks, and then he got Federals and sub-dealer for Mack.
And then 1950, he became an international dealer, which we're still one of the oldest active international dealers in the country.
It was just a small shop and everybody knew everybody, you know.
When I started, there were 3 of us. We had 2 small offices downstairs. We was in one and Homer was in the other.
And he worked real hard, 7 days a week, and was successful. But when I came, he needed help because he was so busy and working so hard. And we shared the same office. It was 6 by 6.
Harry was pretty good at figuring things out. He knew my dad's bookkeeping system, which was pretty loose. Dad's answer always was that they couldn't build a building because they didn't have any money. Well, Harry, he would take so much out of each truck deal and put in a separate account that Dad didn't know about. I was in active duty in the Army Reserves at the time, and when I was coming back, the discussion came up about, well, we can't build, we don't have the money, we don't have it. And Harry said, Dad, we have the down payment, I have the bank financing approved, and I have a contractor, and I have a bid. We can do it.
And we were so excited, all the employees were so excited, and Bob was excited because he went to college, got out of the service, and decided to come back and join the company. Now I have my first office, my dad has his office, and Bob gets a new office. And the employees just love the new facilities. I mean, they were working outside in the snow and the rain, and we all, Bob, Dad, and I are working together.
Working with Dad and Harry was probably the highlight of what I've had in anything. Because to work with your brother and your dad for that many years, we got along really well.
He was a great dad. I mean, he loved people.
Well, I always tried to imitate Homer's style of being a boss because he was so good with Harry and I.
I jokingly said to him one time, Homer, I would like to cut down to half a day. He says, Sherby, I have no problem with anybody wanting to work 12 hours. That was his idea of a half a day.
He had a great work ethic. He worked so many hours every day, and he just loved work.
He was always bebopping along. Yeah.
He always had candy in his drawer, which everybody loved.
Of course, us kids would go up there and pester Homer. Finally, he'd give us a piece of candy or ice cream to leave and go.
He was just not only a boss, but a great teacher.
You just didn't work for him, he cared for you.
He went
far beyond you being an employee of his. He was there on the personal side also.
Yes, he was loved by everyone, and if somebody come in here and didn't have money for a part or something, he would give it to them and they could pay him whenever they could.
I still get stories today from people when I'm out seeing customers that he actually would take parts off a new truck to get their truck running, and then we'd order the parts and get them back in to replace them on the new truck.
People always knew that they could really count on getting the service and getting back up on the road, which is uptime is what we're all about.
Homer had the corner office. It wasn't very big, but it faced the gas pump.
If someone pulled in and hit the hose on the gas pumps and that bell rang, he threw that door open. Hey, did you hear the bell up there? That guy wants gas.
He was talking to a customer about buying a $30,000 truck. If somebody didn't get out there to gas that guy up right away, Dad would say, "Excuse me," and then he would go out and gas it up.
But he wasn't concerned with making money. He was concerned more with doing the right thing, taking care of the customer.
He believed that we were a parts and service store that sold trucks.
One day, Homer told me to get downstairs and get this guy a new tire. He said, I'm on my way home for Christmas. He says, first year I've made it home for Christmas in 4 or 5 years. And he said, I talked to Homer and I told Homer I didn't have any money. And he told him what he was trying to do. And Homer said, well, we're going to put a tire in your truck. And he said, you get home for Christmas. And he said, whenever you're coming back through and you have the money, you start to pay me. He didn't even write up a slip for it. I mean, it was 2 months later, the guy pulled in out front and come in and paid Homer for the tire. He said, if I ever have any trouble, I'm coming up here, you know.
Probably the best story I ever heard was from Marion Martin. And he was coming across the back roads to go to the Grove City Hospital because his wife was having a baby. Well, his car broke down and nothing was open, and he saw Homer's light on his office, and he had not met Homer yet. And he pulls in and he says, hey, something's wrong with my car, my wife's having a baby. And so Homer says, okay, here's the keys to my car, go ahead and take my car. And Marion says, you don't know who I am. He said, you look like an honest gentleman. Just bring the car back when you're done and I'll get your car fixed while you're gone. So Marion goes to the hospital, his wife has a baby. Marion says, he goes in and tells his boss, he's like, hey, I met Homer Hunter from Hunter's Truck Sales. We need to buy trucks from him, all because he loaned a car to him. So in the 60s and 70s, he turned into one of our largest customers. But at the end of the story, he said, that's the kind of service you get from Homer.
But Homer was unique, and wish he was back.
I worked at the Uniontown store. I was parts manager down there. Bob Hunter brought Homer down to the store, and Homer's health was failing. Homer wanted to see me. We walked through the building, and Homer started talking to me, and you know, we were kind of reminiscing. And you see the guy that started everything, but then he came in and wanted to see me, and we walked around through the building and talked, and it was tough. It was tough. It did bring a tear to my eye. It does right now because he was such a good guy to me.
It was a hard act to follow, really, because people loved my dad.
Bob and Harry, they were great. They were the same way as Homer.
We're both good bosses.
They took after their dad very much.
It was a lot of fun working with Dad and Bob. The two of them made a great team.
Both are very personable, not afraid to talk to anybody.
They both wanted to make you feel at home.
They just supported me all the time. I never felt particularly afraid of making a move. It just kind of boosted you up, kept you moving forward. And of course provided all the resources to do what you needed to do.
Bob and Harry and Homer, I had the highest respect for all them guys.
They're kind of what I consider to be a quintessential dealer, very involved in the community. Everything that makes people want to do business with you as an entrepreneur in an area, Harry and Bob did.
They carried the torch, they really did. They weren't just working individuals between Peterbilt and between the Hunter organization. They're very dear friends of mine.
My brother and I think, complement each other. We are different in our ways.
Uncle Bob was a great person to work for. He was very encouraging.
I think a lot of the characteristics that Homer, held himself, Bob instilled that. He was like my friend also, not just my boss or my friend. That meant a lot.
Bob followed right in Homer's footsteps. He was always very, very nice to me, very genuine, very easy to get along with.
Yeah, me and Bob become real good friends. If I had a problem, I'd go see Bob. And when I left his office, if I was right, he took care of it. If I was wrong, I knew why.
He knew the industry so well that no matter what subject that came up, he could explain it to you and tell you about it.
Bob was also very good at wanting to make sure that the customers and employees were taken care of.
I've learned so much off of that man. His wisdom that he's imparted to me has been wonderful. He's very respected in the industry. Everywhere I go, everybody's like, oh my gosh, you're Bob's daughter.
People are, huge to him, and customers become his friends.
When I was younger with the company, Bob came to me and said if a decision ever needed made and he wasn't around, just to go ahead and make it, and he would stand behind whatever I decided.
But Bob was right there if you needed anything, and he'd be in on a joke for anything too.
Through the years, it's been really a great experience working with people.
The three of us were about as different as three people could ever be. And yet, Harry and I joked later on that in our case, we felt that 1 and 1 wasn't 2, 1 and 1 was 3.
Both very, very good dealer principals, very down to earth, would talk to you about anything, and their door was always open.
Well, Harry was a great boss. I always thought he set the tone every morning because he would walk in with a smile on his face, and he would walk the entire dealership and greet people and say hello.
He was very fair and honest and treated people like Homer. He had a lot of Homer's good qualities about taking care of the customer, taking care of the employees, treating people right, doing the right thing.
I thought that I was focused on the satisfaction of the customer, but when I got here, it paled in comparison to how Harry wanted to please the customer.
One of Homer's highlights was passing out paychecks. That was one of the things he did, but he would pass out everyone to every employee. And my dad did the exact same thing.
Harry was always uplifting, pretty happy guy, very sensible, a lot of wisdom.
The story that sticks out the most to me for Harry was the first year I worked here at Christmas, and they got up to give out longevity awards, and one of them was a lady who had worked with the company at that time for like 30 or 35 years, and Harry talked about her and he started to cry. I thought, wow, this man cares so much for his employees. It just is such a reflection of that he has never taken this for granted.
Harry was always joking around with us. He would come into the store and he always would come over and he always would work his way over and had to talk to us, and it made you feel very comfortable. And Bob was the same way.
I felt it was an unusual situation for two brothers to be able to work together as long as Harry and I did and get along. Harry and I both had people come to us all the time, other dealers, say, how did your dad get you two to get in here and work together and get along like you do? They thought there was some magic formula to it.
And Harry and Bob basically grew the business from Homer, and Jeff, Bill, Dave, and Nancy have taken it from now.
I guess one of the biggest privileges I've had is working for, 3 generations and getting to know them all.
It's really been fun watching the 4 of them develop and trying to find where they fit in the best.
We were all brought up when we were working for Dad and Bob. We all had our own division. I was sort of parts and service. Jeff had sales. Billy did a lot of the financing, and Nancy had HR.
Usually they say that after the second maybe generation, third generation, things go downhill. And we are very fortunate. I think they've carried on the tradition of what Homer started and what Bob and Harry instilled in all of them.
I think it's awesome. They've really grown the business. They've brought a lot of new ideas, and we've grown a lot since they've been here. And again, there's really no different to work for them than that was Homer, Bob, or Harry.
It's amazing to watch them
and they're doing very well.
They've kind of taken it to the next level, which they had to do because they have so many stores now. You can't operate it like a one barn store. So they have brought on great middle management. They brought on a corporate structure, but they haven't forgotten where they came from.
I feel assured that the ship is guided by good hands.
They are my bosses, but they're also my friends.
I'm happy to say that I consider all of them a friend.
It's been a fun ride, and we now have fourth generation.
My oldest son, Tyler Hunter, he's working in our body shop as assistant manager. And then I have Mitchell Hunter. We're trying to give him a little bit rounded, sort of like my granddad did. We're both good kids, and they both seem to enjoy working for us.
Everybody says family is hard to work for. I think our family is fairly easy to work for.
They normally say after third generation there's issues, but we're already in fourth generation doing very well.
It's just hard to believe a little town of Eau Claire, what has came from there with just a dad, Homer, and then nothing like that's going to happen out of Eau Claire. It did.
When I started in '70, I thought the world changed when we did the big addition in 1975. I couldn't believe how big the building got, what all we did, and we've come a long way.
That was the start of our expansion.
With the addition of Pocono, we have 24 locations we're operating at, almost 1,000 employees.
In a little town of Eau Claire, and you are now in Buffalo, New York.
It's been a good ride. It's been a good ride, yes. From the trips and stuff that we've took, awards that we've won.
My father won Dealer of the Year, which would be all makes of all trucks.
Which is the highest award in the country. And that was quite an honor for our whole organization.
We have gotten countless Peterbilt Platinum Ovals.
And it comes back to the employees. We can't win these awards without the employees.
Yeah, I think Homer was never about the awards. I think Homer was all about taking care of the customer.
The story and history of Hunter's Truck Sales, in my perception, is all about customer service.
I think we go above and beyond.
Homer's biggest thing was there no matter what. Treat the customer as fair as you can.
They just don't want to sell you the truck. They want to take care of it. It's the way they've always gone to market.
The customers become our friends, and that's why we have such long relationships with our customers, because we really care about them. And the same thing with the employees.
Knowing that we have the best employees in the country, they're there every day, they like their job. We just got done doing an employee engagement survey, and we're way above the national average. We have a lot of employees with 35, 45, 50 years of employment.
I've been here for 50 years. It's been a great marriage.
People seem to stay. If you're here more than 2 or 3 years, you seem to be here a lifetime, basically.
Get out of the day-to-day. The employees have been here a long time. We have second and third generations.
You know the company's in good hands when you can see their families taking an interest in it.
They're family driven, that's the motto, and they truly are, we're all family.
People really care about each other, and they make fun in the day, and when there's anything, a hardship, everyone pulls together.
We go back and we consider a lot of people family.
A lot of people for years thought I was a hunter, to be honest.
It's almost like they want the employees to be part of the family. As a company gets as large as we are now, it's harder to have that personal touch. But you can tell they still want it to be that way.
You might not have a last name, but you're part of the family.
I think Homer would be the proudest person in the world. Super proud of Bob and Harry, and super proud of his grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
He was a very good father, and I think if you said, what did we do to make Dad proudest, I think it would be our families.
That he'd be so proud, as I am so proud, and Bob's so proud. I can't imagine my dad, what the words come out of his mouth like it would be.